I'm gonna make you a promise. By the end of this video, you are gonna understand and truly understand the value of a destination wedding travel agent. And I'm putting the emphasis on destination wedding travel agents for a reason. Do you wanna know why? Are you ready to jump in? I know that you are. Okay, let's do it. All right, ready? Okay, let's go. Oh, no, no. Oh, no, no. Hey Destis and bride friends, I hope that you are having an amazing week and just an amazing time planning those Desti weddings. I am so excited because I have an amazing guest for you guys. Today, I am bringing Sarah Kline of Time for Travel. So, if you are not aware of who Sarah is, then you are definitely about to find out, but there are a few episodes that you are going to want to check out too. Not knowing is a clear tell that you are brand new to the channel and you haven't binged on Desti TV yet. And that's fine. That's fine, bride friend. I'm glad that you are here. And this is the perfect episode for you to get an introduction to who I am and what we do here. This is the Desti Guide to Destination Weddings, the place to be when you're planning a destination wedding. I'm not a planner. I'm just an amazing bride friend that's here to help you plan your Desti wedding. And I bring on amazing guests and I also share my experiences. And like I said already, I have an amazing guest for you. So I made a promise at the very beginning of this that you will fully understand the value of a destination wedding travel agent. And I mean that. So I've been on record telling you that you need a destination wedding travel agent. Look at me. You need a destination wedding travel agent. If you are planning a destination wedding, there is no reason to not have a travel agent. Yeah, I said it. And that's because it's the truth. You do not need to be the person planning your destination wedding travel. You just plain don't. You need a professional that's going to be there for you and your guests. And my guest today will help you understand exactly what a destination wedding travel agent does. And we also really dug deep into just specifics of destination wedding planning. We talked about what does a destination wedding couple look like how do you know if it's right for you. We also dug into choosing your venues, saving money, enhancing guest experiences, setting expectations for you and your guests, and like I said, the value of travel agents and really how to choose one as well. So Sarah's been on the show in the past. She's from episode 6. She's also helped us with COVID when COVID first hit. We have a few episodes there too. I will drop all of the links for you to get to know and meet Sarah in general. But this is a great introduction to her. What we decided to do was do a reintroduction because she came on season 1 and it's still great information. It's still one of the most popular episodes. It's probably the most popular episode. So let me put some respect on her name. But it's 2021 and we needed a reintroduction, so that's what this is. She's seen it all. We even talk about experiences and some true behind the scenes real stories of couples so you can learn. So whether you're just now deciding to plan a destination wedding, if you haven't decided at all and you're on the fence about destination weddings, I know y'all, I see y'all too. And if you're already right in the middle of it and you're about to plan your wedding, you're gonna find something and get something out of this episode. So I'm so excited to share this with you. I can't wait to hear how much you guys love it. So before we get ahead of ourselves, we have to thank our sponsor because where would Desti TV be without our sponsor? And this episode is sponsored by Time for Travel. Time for Travel is owned by Sarah Kline, who you're about to meet, and Time for Travel has been a supporter of the Desti Guide to Destination Weddings since the beginning, and I'm so happy to be partnering with Time for Travel. We have so many great things coming, and I can't wait for you to see just how amazing Time for Travel is. Time for Travel is a team of free destination wedding and honeymoon specialists owned by Sarah Kline. An amazing choice for any Caribbean, Mexico, South Pacific, or Hawaii destination wedding or honeymoon. And with over 20 years of experience helping couples fulfill their dreams, Sarah and her team will make your Desti wedding and honeymoon exactly what you've dreamed of. And Sarah has been on the record saying there is no reason to not use a travel agent. And I'm excited for you to really understand exactly why. So you can find more information about Time for Travel at timefortravel.com. desti.land.com. And there's also a special Desti partner page on Destiland, so you can find that at desti.land/time for travel. All links are in the description below. Okay, we're about to jump in, but before we do, go ahead and give me that thumbs up if you are excited. Let me know that you are excited about this episode and just that you love it. If you haven't decided that you love it yet, as you're going through and you see it and you like, ooh, as soon as you catch a gem, go ahead and give me that thumbs up and let me know. And if you haven't already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. I have new episodes for you pretty much every week. I'm working on that. Season 3 is coming to a close, but I do have a Desti Bride interview coming up, and you won't know the second that it goes live if you don't press that bell as well. So you hit the subscribe and you hit the bell. And if you ever have any questions, make sure that you drop them in the comments below. I'm there, Sarah will be there, and we will absolutely answer them for you. We covered a lot of bases, but there's always questions because when you're planning a Desti wedding, there's just so many things. And believe me, I get it. And while you're down there in the comments, go ahead and give me that hashtag I'm a Desti and let me know when and where you're getting married. Introduce yourself. I have a community as well, but just introduce yourself and let me know who you are. The more I know about you and your wedding, the more that I can help you. I find out, you tell me you're getting married XYZ. Next thing you know, I got some Desti brides and some Desti pros just ready to help you plan your Desti wedding. So yes, here is my interview with Desti Pro Sarah Kline of Time for Travel. I will see you next week. And until then, I'm wishing you all the best week of your life and reminding you to have the time of your life, planning the best days of your life. Bye, guys. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Welcome back to the Desti Guide to Destination Weddings.
Thank you for having me back.
Of course. Thank you, of course, for returning. What we're going to do today, which I'm really excited about, is kind of like a redo of our original episode, which was episode 6. And at that time, actually, I just rewatched it. It was called The Bridefriends Guide to Destination Weddings. So, yeah, we've done some shifting since then, but it's still the same old greatness, and we're updated. So it's the Desti Guide now, and we are going to get to know Miss Sarah Kline all over again.
Awesome.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so for anyone who has not met you and is brand new to Desti, can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm Sarah Kline. I own Time for Travel in Davidsonville, Maryland. And this June will be 28 years in the business, and about 25 of those doing destination weddings. Personal side, married for almost 24 years. And I have 3 young adults that are driving me crazy, but they're almost out of the house. So just busy, but passion is weddings and travel.
Yes, it is. And what are your destinations? What is your zone of genius?
Definitely stick with what I love, which is Caribbean and Mexico. Dabble a little bit, Costa Rica, a little bit of, Central America. But really, the Caribbean and Mexico are what I know best, and being on the East Coast, definitely the easiest. Just recently went to Hawaii, so I'm kind of branching out there, and South Pacific as well.
I have never been to Hawaii. Had you been before? I'm imagining.
I had not. It was like one of those places that eluded me. Like, I've gone to the Caribbean and Mexico a zillion times, and I just really wanted to make sure I did it all. So I did 3 islands while I was there, and it exceeded all expectations.
What were the 3?
I did Oahu, Kauai, and Maui. And I think Kauai is one of my new favorite places on Earth. It's amazing. It's like another planet. It was just magical. So I have a newfound love for Hawaii too.
Interesting. And while this clearly isn't on topic, but what is it about Kauai that you loved?
It smelled different. It looked different. It felt different. It just had like a vibe, and it was more beautiful than any picture I'd ever seen. We actually went to where they filmed Jurassic Park and rode ATVs and watched people surf. I mean, it's just so many of those like experiences. Like it just was like what you always thought Hawaii was. And like Oahu, Waikiki, Honolulu, it's a city, whatever. But when I got to Hawaii, it was like, this is the dream. Like that's what I envisioned. Yeah, I will be
Okay.
back
Ooh,
for sure.
okay. All right, all right.
Yeah.
Get some Hawaiian weddings going on. I don't think I have
Hmm.
any Hawaiian Dusty brides in the group, so okay, okay. Yeah, if you have to stalk your Instagram a little bit and see what's going on in there.
Yeah, it's a little bigger ask, to ask people to go to Hawaii for the wedding. So a little different vibe,
That's
and it's
true.
not all inclusive. But if you're on the West Coast, it's about the same distance, really.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, my dad's in San Diego, so that's always easy. But you're right, traveling all the way, well, at least from like where we are on the East Coast, all the way
mhm,
there, and then it's more expensive too, is the idea too, right?
it
So,
is. It is, yeah. So, yeah.
okay, look, we'll have to. I'm about to start a. This is about to be a
It's a whole
Hawaii
other
episode,
episode.
so right. It's like, wait, okay, bring it back. You know how I do, so let's bring this back. Bring this back. Okay, so we want. Well, what I'm really excited about doing today is getting some like Desti 101 action going in. We have a lot of new Desti brides, and engagement season is in
Yes.
full swing, quite
Also,
frankly. So it's a lot of new Desties, and they're like, "Hey, Omi, like, what do I do? And what is this? And how do I start? And what do I be thinking? And I've got the ones on the fence, and all of the things." So it was like, "This is perfect. Let's, bring Sarah back on and ask all of the questions." So
yeah, dig back into the nitty-gritty of why we do this.
yes,
So,
yes. So I know that we at this point know that destination weddings aren't for everyone. So do you mind talking a little bit about like what a Dusty couple looks like to you?
sure. Just I'm in the DC area, so you find that so many people are not from here. And you've got relatives all over the country, all over the world. So a lot of times it's going to be a destination wedding anyway. So they're all going to have to travel somewhere. So I'm finding that's a lot of people's motivation now. So why not make it somewhere amazing? Do somewhere tropical and all inclusive and where everyone's going to have a blast, and not have to worry about planning in a city with a extra costs. So I think that's a big motivation. I
Yeah.
think another big motivation is, especially after this year, is just finding out what's really important. It's not about having 300 people and all the stuff. It's more about life experiences and being with just who you love, who loves you, your kind of core group, and then costs. So, again, a lot of these brides who reach out to me are from bigger cities. The average cost of a wedding in DC is like $45,000 for a day. That's crazy. I mean, so for about a fourth of the cost, you can do a fabulous destination wedding. So that's, I think those are the biggies of why people do it, for sure.
Okay. So and before we get too far for the newbies, we always say so a destination wedding isn't necessarily cheaper just because it's destination. So can you dig a little bit into that to make sure that like what makes it cheaper?
Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, it can definitely be an amazing event. Most
Right.
of the brides that I work with are doing it because, they want to keep the costs down. They don't need all those things. So
Right.
a lot of times if you do it at a resort or do it at a venue, in a more economical destination, so much of that stuff is already there. They've already got the tables and the chairs and most of the food. So you're really just paying for like the extra service and the
Right.
extra time of the employees. So, all those little tiny things, you're not hiring an outside person to bring things in. And, they have packages where the cake is included, the dinner's included. So when you kind of look at the big picture, you don't need as much stuff. You're not worried about transportation. You don't necessarily have as big of a wedding party typically. There's always the
Mm.
exception. I have one right now. It's got 9 on each side, and they're their own party. But usually, stuff like that is scaled down a little bit. So there's lots of ways to cut costs. Most photographers, videographers in destination typically work at the resort as well. So sometimes that's a big savings. Some people will even bring vendors from home, friends, family members who are going to do hair and makeup and things like that. So there's so many ways to make it less expensive at home than at home, but there's so many amazing things that you can add into it. So I think it's, more about the experience. A lot of people, instead of doing a reception, they'll do a sunset sail. Instead of doing a traditional, ceremony, they'll go jump into a cenote and, do underwater cave swimming. They'll do trash the dress, stuff the next day to enhance the experience. Mayan ceremonies, Tahitian ceremonies, all kinds of different traditional fun stuff you can do that is just not, as expensive as here because all that stuff's already there. You have the beautiful backdrop. So
yeah, that's so true. And then the biggie is you tend to not invite the same 300 people to your destination at the same time too. So,
and even if you do, which is great etiquette, is go ahead and invite all 300 of them. And odds are,
you're killing me.
That's my advice anyway. Odds are half of them won't show up. So it's a great way to cut your destination wedding list, your guest list in half, is because you can assume that half of them won't go. Every once in a while you get surprised, but most people usually have a pretty good idea who's going to attend in the beginning. And then you send out kind of those, obligatory invitations to the ones you don't think are going to come. Just send a check.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that one. I mean, clearly you're the professional. But if you can't, we've had the people scared with the I'm not expecting it, and then they come situation. Yeah. So I hear you though. I mean, you gotta know your group. You gotta know your group. You do. You
have to know who you're inviting. But there's a lot of resorts though that the more people you bring, the more perks and comps and incentives you have. So I have a few brides that have, resorts like if you get to 25 rooms, you'll get a comp reception. They're posting bulletins at work and inviting, an aunt they've never met. They're out there like advertising, trying to get those rooms so they get their perks.
It's so funny that you say that, especially like right now, because in the groups, not in my specific Facebook group, but I've seen brides like, hey, I'm short a few rooms. So if anybody wants to come and just maybe do a viewing of their own resort another time or at a discount rate, you can please get on my room block. And I'm like, oh, in that case, that does make sense, especially if you're trying to get to that baseline and you just plain don't have that as an option. You're trying to, at this point, so that's funny, like posting, come to my wedding, like, it's like...
I mean, I've had people like...
Are they attending too, though? Like, do they have them actually attend the... I was so private. That's probably, for me, that just sounds crazy, but I guess, like...
Yeah, I've had people, ask other friends to go who are friends of friends to add into the group. And, we had people all jammed in rooms together, start separating out rooms just to make more rooms to hit that, count to get all the perks. Done it all.
I know. Absolutely. Yeah, I know you've seen it all. Oh, my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So another that's big saver, too, is decor. I mean, think all the money that goes into decorating, a hall here or an event space. Where in the islands, your backdrop is that blue water or the greenery. You really can spend next to nothing on decor because you've got nature as your backdrop. So it's huge. Yeah. I always tell my brides, go up that head table. That's what you're going to take pictures of. Have that beautiful, ceremony spot. The rest of it, just leave as a blank canvas and let nature take over. That'll save you a ton of money.
Yeah, that's so very true. Like, I have a lot of Desti brides who are like the trunks and trunks of things, which is like, okay, that's cool. And sometimes it can work out where, like, instead of renting something, they can just bring it and give it to the resort. But at the same time, it's like you don't want to like look like you're getting married in the same city that you're getting. Like, the idea is to have the destination and to enjoy the destination. Absolutely. So I do love that. The idea. So when so we gave some budgeting things. So do you, there's been the stigma of like the destination weddings are like just for the rich and, must be nice. Like that's kind of what it happens. Like, oh, you're having a destination wedding. Oh, you have one. Oh, must be nice. Or I could never, I wish I could never. Yeah. So what do you do when someone comes to you? Like, is there like a way that you
talk to them about budgeting or choosing the resort based off of their budget, or what do you do in that space?
It's kind of setting expectations. You know, we live in an Instagram, Pinterest world where everybody just sees this stuff and this just grandeur and this over the top things. And I have so many, brides and grooms come to me and they've just got this picture. And I'm like, well, but where do you want to go? They're like, I just want it to look like this. And I'm like, well, that's fine. We can do that. But I think part of my job is helping them with the big picture. It's not all just about what that ceremony or reception site looked like, because that's just going to be, honestly, a few minutes of possibly a week-long experience.
Absolutely.
And, if that's in some crazy destination that's not, realistic for everybody to travel to, or if your party's only 20 people and you're looking at this picture of something that was holding 250, 300 people, there's just a lot of setting expectations. And that's kind of the first step in my job, is working with the bride and groom to set those. And make sure we can make that vision a reality, but on their budget or, the guest's budget as well. But it's not for the rich and famous or for the budget-minded. I think it's just for people who love travel, are realistic, and just don't want the burden of spending a year's salary on one day.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I have been on record with screaming at the top of my lungs at this point, you need a destination wedding travel agent. You need one. You need one. There's no reason not to. That is my thing. And if anyone has ever met or come across me, they already know that is step one. And can you talk about what the value of a travel agent, specifically destination wedding travel agent, is?
Well, we're not all alike. There's travel agents, and I still use the term travel agent because I've been doing this forever. But realistically, there's so many people who are travel agents who won't touch a wedding, who want nothing to do with it. So if somebody is looking for that help, is to first make sure that is that person's specialty, and not just something where they've done one or two, where that's something that's their primary focus. And that is, like 90% of what I do all day. That's important, is, finding the right person. And then part of it is just meshing with that person, because you're going to be working with this person for like a year or 2 years. And,
yes.
If your person was just don't gel, that's, the beginning of it. So that's important. And that's why I always start most of my, planning part of it is with a call or a Zoom, just so we can kind of get a feel for each other, because that's, a biggie. But I think anyone would be crazy to go it alone. I get a lot of my weddings from people who are like, oh, I've planned trips. Oh, I'm a strategic planner at work, or an organized person, this and that. But it comes down to, you don't have the relationships with the hotels and the destinations. That's huge. Because when something isn't going right, or you can't contact somebody, or you need something special, we have those contacts. So that's huge. The other part of it is nobody wants to deal with their friends and family's money or drama or questions. Or
Say it again. Seriously, that's the big thing for me. Well, they're all big, but that's huge.
Yeah. But I realized that I did my own brother's destination wedding several years ago. And I almost wished I had handed that off to a colleague, because it was so uncomfortable saying like, hey, your balance is past due, or your credit card didn't go through, or just all this. You really learn a lot about your friends and family when you start with money. So it takes that layer out of it. So I'm the one bugging them for final payment. I'm the one bugging them for that final answer. Are you going? What kind of room? Who are you dating? What, just all those like questions and things I got to pull out of them. So you have a buffer. I say just blame it on me. So, and then when somebody's, asking you a zillion questions, which room do I pick, or why is it so expensive, or this or that, you just go, call Sarah, leave me alone. So I work just as much as a travel agent and planner as I do life coach, buffer, all those details. So I think, it's about finding someone that you enjoy working with and that kind of meshes with your personality and that specializes in it. And I know we've had this conversation before too, is no one who does this part-time, because your wedding is not a side gig or a side hustle or whatever some people call it. Your wedding should be with a full-time professional who's dedicated to you 24/7 during your event or during the whole planning process. So that's big.
Yeah, I'm absolutely all of those things. Like, specifically destination wedding travel agent is just is what you need on your team. Like that's from the beginning, and we talked about that in the previous episode where we found you before we did anything else. Like we found travel agent, and back then it was Destination Weddings and Honeymoons magazines, and shout out to them. And it was a small little ad, and we already knew our resort at least, but we knew that we needed that because we did not want to deal with all of the moving pieces that you have to deal with. It just wasn't for us, just as much as planning wasn't. We're not going to be trying to take our own photos. We're not going to try to take our own, do my own makeup, and I am not going to be handling my travel and all of our guests. And then when it became time for, like you said, the deadlines and just making sure that all of the deposits were hit when they needed to be hit, and then the changes that need to go on, and especially now in this day and age, no thank you. No thank you. No thank
just
you.
Have another set of eyes on everything and double checking and, making sure just all your little ducks are in a row. That's our job. And again, the big part of it too is relationships. I mean, there's just been so many times where, I would think like if there was a hiccup, where we ran out of rooms or something wasn't, someone didn't love their on-site planner, where would they go? How would they do this? So we're there to intervene and put out fires and make sure everything goes perfectly. So a big question I get too is you ask me, do I go to the weddings? So am I in attendance? And honestly, I typically do not, because by the time we get to that point, you're done. Like you have every little thing perfect. And we have someone down there that's waiting for you. I stay here strapped to my desk in case somebody misses their flight, forgets their passport, who knows, whatever. But I'm here to put out fires. So they're not bugging you.
Yeah, definitely. It's best to have you there instead of like, what if something happened and you're out on the resort? Like, hey, where's Sarah? Like, I need Sarah right now, and Sarah's got a margarita in her hand. Like, wait, put that down. I need you really quick to go handle this.
No, it's funny. Sometimes I'll look at the calendar. I'm like, okay, people get married right now. Now I can pour the margarita.
There we go. Yes, they're saying I do. Boom. Or their wedding started. Boom.
Done.
Pass them on.
Yes. I check the weather real quick. Check all the contacts. Yeah.
All the flights made it. All the flights arrived. The guests made it there.
That's what I do all morning. Like checking. So, I have gone to some of the weddings. I have attended, and it's so nerve-wracking. But I do feel I'm better served here than I am in destination. But there are some exceptions. But that's a question I get all the time. I would also be gone all the time. My family would kill me.
Oh, that's true. And then I'm sure you probably have weddings like in the same weekend. So it's like, where do you go for what? You've got one in Jamaica, you've got one in Mexico, you've got one in, we're everywhere. So yeah.
It's funny. I try to limit myself to about 25 to 30 a year, just to be able to properly service everybody. I've found that going beyond that number is just not realistic for myself and my little staff, because I am not with the bigger is better. I am very personalized service. You always will talk to me, and I just, want to keep it about that number. But it's funny how, for some reason, all the brides pick the same weekends, the same dates. Like, I'll have them all just squished up around the same time. No rhyme or reason for it. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Because those popular dates.
Yeah, I had 17 weddings within like 3 weeks of each other. And I was like, what in the world? It's like November. It made no sense.
Right. They're all together and then you're done and then it's like nothing else for a while and then yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So I guess in that case, like with what comes first, and this is a question that's not on our list, but what comes first, the date or the resort?
I get couples come to me in all different stages of planning. So a lot of people already picked the resort and then they've realized they're in over their head and they just need somebody to coordinate. So I jump in a lot, later on in the process. So I would say about half of them are that. Then I have the other half, they're just like, yep, I want to have a destination wedding. And I'm like, hot or cold? We literally start from like the very, very beginning and they have no clue. So and I've yet to determine like which I like better because some it's fun helping them pick it out and trying to not really steer the decision, but making sure it's somewhere that I love. I always have a hard time when someone comes to me for a resort that like I don't love. So I'm like, but they already picked it, so I just run with it. So it's half and half. A lot of people, if they're just kind of like, is the destination wedding right for me? Is this what I really want to do? I'm open to sit down with them and talk it through and make that decision. And I had somebody the other night, by the time I got the phone, I was just like, look, this is not for you guys. They couldn't decide on any aspect and their budgets were just all over the place. I could just tell from the phone call that this was not going to be a destination wedding couple. So they couldn't do it. So I'm always happy to start there. And then if you've already picked the resort and already are kind of planning and just feel overwhelmed, I'm happy to jump in too and kind of take over working with the guests and, room contracts and all that kind of stuff as well. So, either way. And then some people have, even like a destination in mind, but they can't decide between the hotels. So most of the destinations that I work in, I know really, really well. So I travel as much as possible to places and look at updates. So if it's somewhere, somebody's looking at, say, Riviera Maya, and they're just overwhelmed because everything looks amazing online. I can step in and then get on a call and give you the pros and cons of each resort. Something might be gorgeous and affordable and everything you thought, but they really may not do a good job with weddings. And I love it when they come to me with this list of places and I'm just like, where in the world,
No.
And I'm overly honest. I'll be quick to be just like, that is not what you want. No. But maybe throw out something that they'd never heard of or thought of. That's one of my most fun things to do, is to present something. Because usually like during the conversation while we're talking, I almost always have like a resort in mind, like just a few minutes into it that I just like, it's their spot. Like I can just see the personality. And so I think it's fun to kind of not pick it out for them, but know where they should go before they do.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard about you doing that with Desti Brett. So yeah. So, but you said something interesting, which was about the couple who like it's not for them, right? Mm-hmm. So we talked about who it is for, but how do you like? For me, I have my ideas on when people are kind of like like for me, it's almost one of those things where like if you absolutely positively like must have all family members be able to make it no matter what and they can't travel, then destination wedding is not gonna work more than likely. Like unless, do you have any other like criteria? What does it like? How do you know like
I'll give you an
may
example.
not be a thing?
On the call, I love to have the bride and groom both on the call, because that really, really makes a difference. Because typically one of the two of them have done a tremendous amount of research and the other not so much. And some of them are just like, agree, they kind of just nod and go. And this couple was like, she was like, oh, we're inviting, up to 200 people. I want to go to Greece. And he's like, no, we're just going to have immediate family and tons of kids. And she's like, no, I want adults only. And he's like, but I just like non-inclusive, so people just pay for food when they're there, and let's do like a VRBO, so she's like,
Here,
this
right.
rock star, and he's talking about how to like make his own bonfire on the beach for free. And I just like, these two have never even spoken to each other about this ever. Like, I mean, they were so place. I kind of thought it was being punked. Like, it was
like, is this serious? Are you guys for real right now? Like,
yeah. So at the end of the conversation, she shoots me an email and says, we've talked and we've decided on Greece. And I just went, okay, like, the Greece isn't even open right now for travel.
Right. So, and when exactly? And okay, so that makes sense. Like, being on the same plane for sure needs to be the case.
After an hour,
that is a huge basic.
I hadn't gotten them to agree on one single thing, like not one aspect. And I went, okay, you guys need counseling. I'm out.
Like, have you met? And spoken? Is the wedding, like, are y'all even, is that the thing? Okay,
are you even engaged? I've had them too, where I've started the process and I'm like, what's the groom's name? And they're like, well, I'm like, oh no, just no.
Like, oh, we need a groom or a bride, or we need a partner of some sort. So,
going back to 101 is we're not planning until there's a partner. So, no.
So, hey, okay, I know I'm interrupting and you probably got your notepad out by now, and if you don't, this might be a little quick second for you to go grab it, but I have to take a moment to thank our amazing sponsor, who you're sitting here listening to, Sarah Kline and Time for Travel. So, by now, you're starting to understand the value of a destination wedding travel agent, and Time for Travel is an amazing choice. Sarah's been in the business for over 20 years, and she offers intimate experiences just for the two of you, and also the grand events for your family and friends. And her Instagram account, if you haven't checked that out, is everything. Time for Travel handle all of our travel for our destination wedding in Mexico and our honeymoon in Jamaica way back in 2017, and our guests still rave about her and have used Time for Travel for personal vacations since then. As you guys know, I only partner with companies that I truly believe in, and I'm proud to have Time for Travel on our team as a Desti Pro, but also as a Desti partner. So thank you, Sarah, for sponsoring the show. You can find out more information about Sarah and Time for Travel and get a free consultation at timefortravel.com, and tell her your best Desti bride friend Omi sent you, and they'll take extra special care of you. All right, back to the interview. Speaking of like them with the invitations, 200 people versus just families and friends, the who do I invite type of question comes up. So how do you tackle those, like when it comes to the guest list?
Well, I'm bad at that. I'm like, invite everybody.
Yes. Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, get them all.
I mean, that's, a lot of people do like an A and a B list, and your family, there's going to be people who are good. Their feelings hurt because they didn't get the invitation when they're absolutely not going to go. But one of my pure joys of doing this is having those people who you never thought in a million years go attend. And you have to be careful because sometimes it's that feeling like that person who's never left the country, doesn't have a passport, you thought a million years they won't go. They're like, oh, all the rest of the family's going. Maybe this is finally my opportunity. So you make it, that aunt or that, friend that just was like, never ever would do something like that, because they have that comfort of knowing there's other people going. And I think brides and grooms, there's always a few surprises in there of who attends. Yeah. And they're my most fun because they're so skeptical and they're so like, what's it all inclusive? Oh my gosh, I'm leaving the country and all this stuff. And they end up being like return clients. It's so cute because they'll come back and like, at the time of my life, I would have never done that unless I went to this person's wedding. So I always get a huge kick out of those. So,
Yeah, that's so funny that you say that, because in re-listening to our episode, I'm gonna keep talking about that, and of course I'll link to that too for you guys, so you can just, it's not. But something I said was how excited we were about certain guests that were coming, and they had never been on a plane, and they never had, of course, clearly they don't have a passport, and they'd never traveled, and since then they've been out of the country more, like since our wedding, back using you, like going on more trips, and it was like, that's so awesome. So at that time at that point I was just saying how excited I was about, because it was pre-wedding, so it was like, I'm so excited about this, like, for them, and to know that really was the case. But for me, I feel like, what if I would have like invited that cousin that I really didn't want to be there, and I would have invited them, and then they would have came, and I would have been sitting there like, you sure you want to go? Like, you should save that money. You probably save your money. Yeah. Save that. Pay your rent with that one or something, like, you know what I mean? But no, overall, you're so right with that. And it's funny listening to you, because you also, like, one of the perks is you're able to deal with the clients and talk them through things. Like, we definitely, I tell brides, like, send them to your agent. Like, your agent should be able to take care of them completely. So like you were saying, like, if a guest comes to you and says, what is this? Like, what does all inclusive mean? Or,
I'll do everything to help them, walk them through it. And then every once in a while I have to reach out to the bride and go, okay. Or the groom and say, this person just maybe isn't the right fit. But yeah, for the most part, that's what I'm here for. I mean, I still have a storefront office, and people will drive and sit in front of me and write checks, like, because they just can't do the process online or whatever. So it's funny. So deal with, the whole realm of ages and comfort levels. But I think it's nice for the guest to hear from someone other than the bride and groom. I can talk them through the process, and I'm not selling them on it. Like the bride and groom, we're talking them into going. But I think that's part of setting your expectations in the beginning. Is there are going to be people pop up that you didn't prepare for, and they're going to be people who you are 1,000% sure we're going to go and we're going to be happy for you, that are not going to go. And that's something you have to be ready for. Because some people, whether it's financial or work or just to be a pain, will not attend. Sometimes there's a little jealousy and other issues and things come up. So you just have to prepare yourself for that. So that's a conversation I usually have in the beginning with the bride and groom, is what's more important, your dream, or that absolutely everybody attends. I've had many, many weddings, pick a resort that accepted children, based on everybody bringing their whole families and all this, and then there ends up being no kids. Ooh. And it's like, we've had that happen many, many times. Or vice versa. They pull an adults only event and they make it in the summertime, and then you've got these families who are like, well, I'd love to bring my kids and make it, a summer vacation or family event. So those are some soul searching that you should do in the beginning, and make it very clear to your guests that you'd love them to bring the kids, or this is going to be an adults only event, because that kind of sets the tone. And just pick it for what you want and not everybody else. So I will remind my brides and grooms over and over and over again, it's about you. This is your wedding. It's not about your mother-in-law. It's not about that crazy aunt who says she's been everywhere. It's about what you want. So that's a hard thing to.
That's a sound bite right there. I already know. You know how I feel. This is perfect. Yes, mic drop. We're done. Yep. Thanks.
It's your wedding, no one else's. If they don't like it, stay home. Or stay elsewhere. I've had guests come to me and say that resort is below my standards. And I'm like, okay. And we'll put them at the presidential suite down the street and arrange transportation for them to come over for the wedding. And, that's what I'm here for, to intervene and make everybody happy. Because there's just always going to be there's always one, sometimes two, troublemakers.
Oh, that's so true. We had to. Yes. Oh, that's so true. There's always one, sometimes two.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
best for you not to know that. Like, it's best for you to know the least amount of
Yeah.
information as possible. I'm sure there's plenty that your couples know about, that your couples don't know about. So I
Well,
feel like
it's funny.
that's,
Some of my couples will warn me in the beginning. They're
oh,
like,
yeah.
there's going to be this one. And it's funny, like if I have a little heads up, that's, there's going to be that person. But sometimes it's almost always the first person to contact me, which is funny. It's like
So
just a trend.
quick. They're like,
Yeah, it's like that first person on the invitation. I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be the one. So, but I'm there to put out the fire.
at least you got that one out of the way. Like, okay, good. That's the one. So
Oh yeah, yeah. But
it's
I
smooth
always want
sailing from
there's
there.
somebody you didn't know was crazy. Crazy's gonna come out during the planning process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And one of the notes that you gave me was like, thinking about who you're going to invite and then how much do you really care. Like, I feel like that's a big piece, right?
Absolutely. Yes, for sure. Because, just some people just can't do it. I mean, there's a million reasons and you have to just be able to let that go. So, and if they're going to cause you drama or stress or anything at the wedding, definitely let them go.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yep.
So as far as how do you feel about I know that you don't do specific planning, like the full on, all of the nitty gritty and the details, but you do
Yeah.
work with the resorts and all of that, right?
Yes, so we work with hundreds and hundreds of different resorts, and that's where in the beginning I'm super honest when they'll throw out like a resort that I just know is not responsive, doesn't have good on-site planners. Um, so we can usually find another resort that is, the same or similar that does. So I will make the introduction with the on-site planner, the person you're working with on menus, decor, all those little nitty-gritty details for the wedding. So I am your in-between. And I always tell all my brides, copy me on everything because 9 times out of 10, I can answer the question. They all work on island time, so they think returning an email in 7 to 10 days is good. I'm East Coast. We need that, like 15 minutes goes by. We're like, oh my God, nobody's answered me. My wedding must be canceled. They didn't respond immediately. So much drama with that. So I'm like, copy me. I'm there to make sure that everything gets answered, and I can usually jump in. But we work with some amazing, amazing planners, and I'm loving some of these resorts now are doing US-based wedding offices, which is awesome because you're faster turnaround time, there's no language barrier. So that, is super helpful with all of us. So that's so I don't get into too much of that nitty-gritty, but I'm your fire putter outer facilitator.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And clearly, like, we didn't get married on the resort, but you were able to help with specifically, like, we needed our welcome boxes to be delivered to the room, and our planner didn't have a relationship with the resort, so you were like, reach out, this is who you need to reach out to, make sure that you get that, they'll probably charge you, handle that. I was like, oh, okay, like,
Yeah.
all right, I can do that, like, we can handle that works.
Those little things, connections. But and that's why I'm able to remain being a free service, because if I was getting involved with picking menus and flowers, and I mean, it's so time consuming, there's so many more appointments to that, I'm able to just do the big picture and the travel, and I don't charge anything to my brides or grooms. So I basically work on commission from whatever resort you select. So there's no reason not to use a professional because it didn't cost you anything extra. I'm here to make your life easier. Yes.
So very true. And when it comes to turnaround time, like, I know that, like you were saying, there's a thing, like, there's a complaint that can happen at times where resorts just take a while to respond to you. Yeah. So in my mind, it's like, I guess, I was about to say what I think, but I want to ask you what you think on that and how people should, like, it feels like an expectation thing with knowing if I'm getting married, it's 2021 now. So if I'm getting married in 2022 or 2023 or later, like, how do you how do you deal with the response times with the different resorts?
I hate this term, but it's so true. You're not next. So, because these brides are like, okay, I made a decision. I picked a resort. I'm ready to go. And they're all super, super excited. And then the planner, sends back the confirmation and they go, okay, we'll talk to you in 5 or 6 months, or there's no communication. And the brides just go like, I need to pick stuff out. I need to go because you're excited. And I get that. But they're now dealing with people who are getting married right then and there. So, I always, and it's kind of a weird feeling because there's so much in the planning part of, picking where and when and getting contracts signed and getting all that done. There's like a flurry of activity and then nothing because the resort's not ready for you to start planning. Your guests aren't booking yet. So I give them like little tasks. I'm like, let's build a wedding website, let's go like Zola or the Nod and let's put, work on save the dates, invitations, start shopping, help me out with like guest lists, like send me the list of everybody you're inviting, just honestly like busy work. Some of my brides love it that there's nothing they have to do. Like they just sit around kind of wait for me to start reporting when guests are booking. Others are just feel lost because they're like, there's no tasting to go to. There's, not a lot of like picking out of stuff. So it's kind of a opposite of here. But, it's we'll come up with stuff for you to do. Keep you occupied.
Yeah. And how do you, like, when would you say, is there like an average window when the resort does feel like it's game time? Like, should they be thinking like within 90 days or maybe 6 months? Like, when do they kind of start to go, okay, now you're next?
You're up to bat. Let's go.
Yes.
Yeah. So some of them around 5 months is pretty typical of when they're going to really start kind of communicate. I mean, you can always start sending them emails and asking questions and making changes. I mean, you could absolutely, they're not going to ignore you, but they're going to be slower to respond because they're dealing with right then and there. And then it's funny, you get to about that 60 to 45 day mark, and then that wedding coordinator is on you. They're like, let's go, 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 because you're up. And then it's funny, I'll have like brides and grooms like take a day or two to maybe they'll ask a question to respond, and the wedding coordinator's calling me. They're like,
now you're rushing them. So, like they've been waiting on you for a year, and now.
Yeah. So the script flips real quick, and now they need to get you, done to move on to that next bride. So it's funny, and then it's like, what, I have to make a decision? I don't know. I'm like, you've had a year to look at it. Pick something out. So, but that's the fun part, because then at that point you've got kind of your final guest list. Who's really going. Because that's part of the hard part in the beginning is everybody wants to plan, but you don't know if you're going to have 25 or 75 people. I mean, you just don't know. So it's so opposite of here. It's, because you just at the end of the day, so you can kind of start dreaming and looking and putting stuff together. But when you actually get to that final head count right at about, 65, 45 days prior is when you're like, okay, this is my firm number. Let's go ahead and, get everything done and paid for and firmed up. And then you have their full attention as well. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like I've had them, brides come to me and they're like, I'm trying to figure out my seating. I'm trying to figure out this. And it's like, you got a year for your wedding. Or the bride's like, I already did my seating and I know this. And like, you kind of can't though, because you don't know who's even coming. And so you just sat and wasted your time with 50 tables when you may end up with like you just don't know. Like you're almost playing yourself by wasting so much time in those spaces or working on like your centerpieces when you don't know how many you'll need or what your budget's gonna be, because you could possibly do more. Like you just don't really know until that 6 months. So I agree, like within that timing. So
go play around some more on Pinterest and Instagram.
So play with the details of the specifics, and have maybe like the plan A and the plan B, right? Like if my budget is this, then I can do this. But if I have more, then these are like the dream chairs, and let's play with the A and the B's. And
that's why I tell them, when we get to the end and it's less than you thought, you can add in some neat elements. If it's more than you thought, then you know what you can do away with to get the budget back to where you want it. And a lot of, if you're going to have a decent amount of guests, a big part of it is communication. It just shocks me how many brides will just like send out something and they don't really communicate with the guests. So I'm the one answering the questions about like attire and timing. So I really think the wedding website is great. And, you know, just all these
Absolutely.
free ones out there are awesome. I think Appy Couple is another one. Zola are all great. If I can do it, anybody can. And I'll help with the verbiage and what to put on there, what to say. But I think that's helpful. And I tell a lot of my guests or my brides and grooms to do what we call fluff reminders for guests. Because, you know, you have that first deposit done, and then sometimes it might be a year before our final payment or the actual wedding. So maybe a few months after that, put together a cute email blast that just says, you know, like a countdown to the wedding. Did you know our resort has 9 restaurants? And here's a link to the venues. Did you know that, you know, your passport has to be valid for 6 months beyond? Here's the link to renew your passport. And oh, by the way, you can be making payments. And here's a link to make payments on your trip. So, you know, don't let it get away from you. And it's so funny when my brides and grooms send those out, I get like a burst of little payments. You know, like I'm like, they must have sent a fluff reminder. But it keeps people thinking about it and budgeting for it and planning, keeps them excited about the event. And then it answers questions, because so much of what I get are like, what's included? Well, where do I fly into? Like, it shocks me how little information some of the couples give to their guests. And they basically show up at this event completely clueless, if anything. So, you know, I can help with those as well, because I really think they're very valuable. Keep people thinking about your event, and you'll never get the excuse, oh, I forgot to make payments. You know, it snuck up on me. Like, oh,
Right. Like, yeah.
Or little reminders throughout the year. You know, I do the big ones. I do like, you know, if there's a second deposit, final payment, I do all that paperwork, all those reminders. But these are just kind of fun stuff to keep people engaged.
No, yeah, I love that. And I feel like it could be easier instead of, because for anybody who's, you know, watching or listening and thinking like, oh my God, that just feels like extra work. If you already put that in your website, which I'm always talking about, like if you have that information on your website, you're literally able to just copy it and throw it into an email. Yes. And even send them back to your email. You know, that way it's not like you're reconfiguring anything or coming up with a whole new verbiage. You already have it. Just literally copy one page. Like, you got your accommodations page, you've got your passport page, you've got your about your resort, you know, this is the spa credits. Have those things, and then just copy them right in.
Yeah, they'll glance at that website one time and they'll never. And I'll get the same question over and over again. I'm like, it's on the website, you know? So yeah, you can just take those pages. And if anyone ever needs suggestions, I mean, I can send you links to tours and, you know, what to wear and the weather, and all kinds of just fun fluff stuff about where they're going. Yeah. I even just had a bride put everybody on a diet. She is sending like weekly, like what to eat weigh-ins. I'm like, I don't know about that one.
They clearly know her, so they're just like, here she goes again. Okay, she wants you all looking great for her wedding. Okay,
for her pictures.
She said you will not ruin my pictures.
In all my years, 28 years of doing this, that one made my jaw drop. I was like,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, that's funny. But yeah, put it in your site, you know, I love that though. And it also keeps them excited, and it also will, you know, like you said, it will make them want to make the payments and not miss it, or, you know, this is what's going on. And we did that with developments, like, hey, you guys, we finally figured out like this is where we're going to have our night on the town party, and gave them the place. And some people looked it up and they were excited, like, oh, you know, stuff like that.
A little
like,
update on, you know, ask me what to wear. Should I wear heels? Is it going to be on the sand? And sometimes I don't even know those answers, because I'm not part of kind of that final planning stages. And I'm just like, that is something that should be on the website, you know, well, what to wear, or what to expect. And especially with important things like passports. I mean, so many people don't pull their passport out till like days before the trip. And then they realize it expired, you know, a year ago, or there's only a month left on it. And, you know, so it kind of avoids all those things, make people stop and think, you know.
Stop, check your passport right now. Make sure that, you know, Is your passport okay? And then also giving these specifics. Like we were very specific to be like, it's like you can't travel if your passport expires within X number of days.
Yeah.
So we said, and that means this date. Like we gave you the date. So look at your passport and does it have this date? If it's not that, just
things like people will give me a name and then I'll get, like their passport name later on for something, or I'll see a different list and I'm like,
who is this?
Not the same name. Like, they're like, oh, I gave you what I want to be called. I'm like, that doesn't work going out of the country.
Yeah,
so,
you can't book a flight. Yeah. I can't have a flight for Omi. I just plain can't. Like, no, Omi's going nowhere fast.
I actually had, this is a terrible story, but I'll share this because it'll make brides think. I had a bride use points for her air. I did everything else. And she put her nickname on her own airline ticket to go to her wedding in St. Lucia. So needless to say, everybody, all 40-some guests are arrived in St. Lucia. Our bride is still sitting in JFK because they wouldn't let her on the flight, and there wasn't a flight for 2 more days. She was 2 days late for her own wedding because she put her nickname.
Yeah. Sarah. And of course she was insisting on doing it herself, so you didn't even get to catch it or anything.
I her points, and she's like, I've got the air, I'm doing it, and just sent me the flight time, so I didn't see the actual ticket. So now I'm like, send me everything. I need to see.
Show me. Yeah, let me just make sure. Oh my goodness, but that's so crazy. I would be so upset if I was her too. This is like, it's my points, so clearly who I am if I'm using my points. So can I please get on this? Oh my goodness.
Who knows? Like credit card miles or something. I don't know how it worked out, but we ended up getting on our flight, but she was still a day or so late, and I think I fixed it, but
yeah. Goodness gracious, that's painful. Yikes! This is making me. Yeah, I feel like we should do like a. What are you gonna say?
There's extra set of eyes on everything, just to double and triple check everything is what we're here for. So.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. Oh, yeah. I feel like we need to do we were trying to think of what to do on live. It's like, we could do horror stories, travel horror stories, learn from other brides' mistakes. There we go. I love it. All right.
I could go on for days and days.
So one thing I do want to talk before I let you go is about the experiences. Something we didn't dig too deep into last time, but about, options and, the wedding week. Yes. Any ideas about scheduling the wedding week, and then also any experiences that they should be thinking of?
I am big on experiences and not stuff, because you will remember the experience. No one is going to remember your centerpiece, and no one's going to care what it looked like. Make your head table pretty, save all that stuff. I am the worst salesman in the world too, because
you don't need that. Nope.
I do. I will look at the stuff that they picked out with the hotel, and I'm like, no. I mean, I looked at one just yesterday, and I'm going to call her tomorrow and go over it, but she has like extra hours of open bar at an all-inclusive, and if this is at 11 o'clock at night, if they haven't had enough to drink, they can stumble the 5 feet here or there and go to another bar. They'll be okay. She's spending like $900 on this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So just different little things and extra stuff that just don't need. So I will talk you out of those things and say, put it into experiences, whether it's like a spa day or fire dancers or an off resort, tequila tasting, a reggae band. I mean, just all those things are just going to be different. Fireworks is one of my favorites. All those things that it just could be a surprise for the guests, and they're going to enhance the overall experience. And if you really are that, Instagram bride and Pinterest bride, you're going to get great pictures out of the experience than you are of just stuff. No one's going to take a picture of your chair back cover. Nobody cared, ever. Same thing with the wedding, do something fun and funky and different. Don't do a traditional wedding cake, because nobody's going to eat it, because by the time they've had all this food, they're at an all-inclusive, Nobody cares. Get the little tiny round free one, do the symbolic thing, and then do something fun and funky we did a churro station at one the other day.
Yes, the churro cart. I did that for
Yeah,
my wedding too.
it
Yeah.
was fun, so just something different. So that's what I love to see and love to encourage and suggest, just to make it different and really feel authentic. I kind of hate when I see my brides and grooms take like what they would have done here and then just move it to destination.
Yeah.
Put a little flair of where you're going and the vibe. And, even if you want the wedding itself to be more traditional, maybe make like the meet and greet more to the vibe of the destination or the resort. So there's, different ways to incorporate it. But that's why I love my job. I'm passionate about just all this fun stuff and, giving people ideas that they didn't think of and seeing it all come together. It's fun.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. The things that our guests remember, definitely experience related. And also food related too. But, like we did the rooftop deck, the dinner with that, they loved that. Or I'm funny with this pen. Okay. They love that. and the churro cart.
Yeah. Don't overschedule yourself. I mean, that's another thing I see is just people come back and they were like, we did meet and greet dinner, then we did the reception, then we did, a pre, bachelor bachelorette party, and then a brunch after. Skip the brunch. Nobody wants to go to the brunch. They're all over each other. They're hungover. Forget the brunch, So I usually encourage my couples to make a list of like, this is what we think we're going to do today. Maybe some beach volleyball. Then we're going to just meet at the bar the night before, like a meet and greet. Don't obligate people to dinner. The day after the wedding in the afternoon, if anybody wants to meet for like mimosas at this pool, that's where we'll be. Just leave it fun and flowy and open. But I just see this, just all these crazy scheduled events, and let people really experience and enjoy what they paid for.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. Like that's the thing, especially, and oftentimes guests are only going to be there maybe 3 nights or something. It depends. But if they're only there for a few nights, you don't want to monopolize every single moment of their time because you want them to be able to enjoy, like you said, what they did pay for. Like have a dinner at the resort maybe, or to really be able to, go into town if that's what they want to do outside of you. And the the brunch after the wedding, I agree. It's just, we're hungover, we're tired. I want to wake up when I want to wake up. Right. I want to go to the beach maybe and just be hungover on, or wherever. Like, I don't want to
chit chat with you and recount last night. I want to absorb it and
let that be the moment and let that settle for days. Like seriously, like, and you may see them on the resort, but let that's the moment. And it almost feels like you said, sometimes that next day can just take over. It kind of extends it. And it's like, you had an amazing wedding. Let that settle. Like, let that sit and marinate. Let it marinate. Exactly.
Yeah. It's nothing worse than having to be obligated to be up and do something the morning after your wedding. It's like, just go veg. So those little tips, I mean, I have zillions and zillions of little ideas and tips that I love to talk through with my brides and grooms during the planning process. And, it's what 28 years of doing this gets you.
Yeah, that in itself is a whole episode. I can already tell. So that, we've got plenty of things. So before you go, I have to know, because I asked it last time and I need to know now. What is your favorite, not Mexico and not Jamaica, what is your favorite destination right now? I wonder if you're going to say the same thing. Or if you remember what you
just in beginning of December went to Antigua again, and I'm in love all over again. So it's funny. So many times when I travel, I'm like, go to the resort. I'm there for an event. I experience one place, or I go and see like 10 places in 72 hours. Like, and I just come back like, I don't remember what I saw. It was a lot. So I've been most islands in the Caribbean, and I always try to pick out like what I love, what I didn't love. And I'd been to Antigua before and loved it, but I went back in December and actually went with the tourist board. They were escorting us. And that island has done an amazing job this year with safety and protocol. So that was the number one thing. And we got to go off resort a lot. We ate at local restaurants. We went to like Nelson's Dockyard and Shirley Heights, and we did a fish fry and had a local lunch on the beach. I mean, just so many like authentic things. And I fell in love all over again. So next to Hawaii and even the Great Barrier Reef, I think that is the most picturesque island of all of the Caribbean. Just the mountains and the beaches, and the people are so sweet and amazing. And I even adopted a puppy while I was down there and flew it back with me. It was so fun.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh.
So that's a program we can set up for you in the Caribbean. You can bring home dogs to adopt. Even if you don't want to keep it, you can take it to the local SPCA. So that's my new fun thing I'm doing. Flying with puppies is a blast. It's very distracting. It's great. So.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. So that's probably right now, today is my favorite place. I can't wait to go back to Antigua. So, because it just felt good. Just beautiful people, beautiful place, so much to explore. And you don't have to be, people say, oh, I don't want to just sit in the resort. I don't want to be bored. Never there. There's so much to explore. We sailed over the whole island one day, and it's just
oh my gosh.
Yeah, just so much fun stuff. And very reasonable. You don't have to be rich. Yeah, you don't have to be rich and famous to afford it. And they have overwater bungalows there too. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what you said last time?
What I said about it?
Do you remember what you said? What your answer was last time?
Oh, probably Grenada.
Exuma.
Oh, it was Exuma. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I haven't been back there in a little while. So, yeah, I do love to fish. So that's why I like the Bahamas, because I will be out on a fishing boat, because that's my happy place. Oh, most people are like, what? You like to? I'm like, love, love, love. Just put me in a boat with a rod in my hand and I'm happy.
Oh,
and a glass.
I love it. Okay. And the other thing, of course, I'm just gonna keep saying "and," but how about your favorite resort right now? Ooh.
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Either one that you would absolutely love to, or this could be two questions. One that you would love to and you can't wait, like, oh, I gotta go to this resort. And then also like, oh, I loved this resort, hands down. If this was the only resort in the world that existed, I would be just fine going. Yeah, I like this question. I'm enjoying it.
No.
I don't have to answer it either. Of course I enjoy it. I don't have to answer it.
That's a cruel question. Oh my gosh. I don't know. That's
okay.
What's on the top of my list? Like, if I had to pick where would I go tomorrow, I would go back to Santorini probably, because that was probably like my favorite place I've ever been. And just run away. But next week I'm going to Sandals South Coast, which is on the kind of unspoiled southern coast of Jamaica, and I haven't been there in many years. I've been a couple times, but I'm super excited to go back there because I am a sunset junkie. So if the resort has to face so I get an amazing sunset, and I am more excited about that than I am the overwater wedding chapel and the bungalows and the amazing food. I just want to sit on a beach and look at that sunset. So those are kind of, the more I travel, the more I like smaller places, the more I have weird wants, like it facing west, just little things like that. And I'm also starting to appreciate more of this kind of smaller, like family-owned boutique properties. In Antigua, I just stayed at Curtain Bluff and Inn at English Harbor, and both were just boutique, family-owned, and the level of service was unlike any place I'd ever been. So I don't know if it's my age or my level of spoiled keeps going up. sometimes bigger isn't better. All these restaurants and, a water park and all this different stuff really isn't important. It's more about the level of food and service and things like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a different experience. So that makes sense.
Holbox is my other spot that I'm working on. It's a
HOLBOX. Is that
HOLBOX Holbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on top of my list. Keeps eluding me.
I'll be happy to link through all of these. And yes, by the time this episode goes live, because speaking of sunsets, we're gonna do sunset. We'll be live for sunset for the South Coast, for your South Coast trip. So if you guys, whenever you're listening and watching this, I'll link to that and you can relive it with us. Because you will have missed it at that point, but it will be listed as an event in the Desti Lovers community. So join that too. Plug. Join it.
Can't wait. Just got to go down, and they built some new accommodations there and some enhancements. So that's part of my job. I have to go, make sure it's amazing, make sure it's beautiful, and then bring back a report to everybody. So
such a job,
One of the perks. So everyone goes, "Oh, you're so lucky." I'm like, "No, I picked it." So
you did, yes.
Luck had a little bit to do with it, but I picked it. That's where I wanted to work.
Yes, you were meant for this too. So we appreciate it so very much.
I spend most of my life strapped in front of a computer, in front of a desk, but when I get those opportunities, I'm gone. But I work 24/7. That's the beauty now of having a cell phone and a laptop with you all the time, that I'm never off, ever. So because when brides call, you have to answer. They don't wait.
You know it. It. We don't. Yes, no. Yes, and grooms. The grooms don't wait either. Yeah, brides and grooms. We don't wait. So what final advice would you give to a Desti bride or groom that's thinking about planning a destination wedding?
Use a professional, number one, of course. And just really do some soul searching. I find that a lot of my couples come to me and they haven't really discussed it. And save yourself the heartache and the craziness of just searching and searching online at all this different stuff, because you're going to get pulled in so many different directions. Talk to each other, come to a professional, let them make the suggestions, and then really help you narrow your focus. You will save so much time and energy, and communication. Just, it's so much of it is lost in not saying what you need or feel or what's missing, and just relationships. So, but that's why I love my job and just love working. I feel honored to be part of this journey in so many people's lives. It's just fun to see it all come together. And then, it's not just like a typical trip you plan for somebody. They may send you a picture or a little review. Like when you see the wedding in the final video, I will cry my eyes out right with you. So love it. Love it. Love it.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. Oh, this is great.
Of course. So tell people how they can find you.
Okay, so I am at www.timefortravel.com. Instagram, time4 TRVL Destination Weddings. Facebook, Time for Travel Ltd. Or on our website, all my contact information. You can always shoot me an email. My personal cell phone's there. And I'm always available. But if anybody needs help, just doesn't know where to start, just needs a little guidance, I'm here to help.
Yay! Thank you. And of course, I will link to all things on Destiland. And I believe it is desti.land/time for travel, which is what your link is now at this point. Make it easy for people to find.
Awesome. Even better. Thank you.
So thank you
so much for having me. You're my favorite bride.
Always, yay.